Alright, so at the time of writing this script, it's been about 4 days since the second episode of Season 3 dropped. I feel like I should let you know, though, that at the time of recording the audio and at the time of finishing the script, it is currently February the 13th, so I still have a couple months to go before I actually see the actual ending of The Owl House. I may not remember everything correctly when actually talking about the episodes themselves, and really, I don't care. I just want to talk about The Owl House. This is a relatively new thing I'm doing, as before the script I have actually never reviewed any TV show, and honestly I don't plan on doing it too much, so sorry to the people who found me through this video, cause the only thing that's slightly similar to this will have to be the video about those weird mysteries over there, and me talking about anime songs, unless you want to say because of my charming personality, but I don't know. With all of that out of the way, I think I can actually start this video. Spoilers, by the way. Yo, what's up?
Pay for my fucking therapy!
I believe that Disney has made some of the greatest cartoons of the 21st century, and I believe that they were really hitting it out of the park with the 2010s era of cartoons, focusing mostly on actually telling a narrative that evolved and eventually concluded. Out of this era of Disney came two shows that for a while I thought were so good that they could probably never even be rivaled in any way, shape, or form, and those two shows were Gravity Falls and the DuckTales reboot. These shows were basically the holy duo of Disney cartoons, with some of the best humor, storyline, characters.
I'm saying all of this, but I've only really seen those two cartoons.
That was until I started hearing about The Owl House, a show about a girl stuck in a witch world, which looked neat, but not something that I will actively go out of my way to watch. And the show really interested me, dancing and all, but it wasn't until this thing came out in 2020? Anyways, it wasn't until, I want to say 2023, when my friend very insistently recommended me the show, and because I am a petty motherfucker whenever I feel like it, I ignored it until I decided to watch the show, and lo and behold, my mental health definitely went down during the entire week of For the Future's release. Despite all the adversity that The Owl House has faced, the poor people over at Dana Terrace's team could not catch many W's whatsoever. The show was actually still able to tell its story the best way that it could, and while not the original vision of the show, it is still, or at least I hope it is, something that the team can be proud of producing, and should be by all means proud of producing it, building a massive loyal fanbase along its run, and at the very end of the fanbase you find me, who simply wanted to bandwagon on the show and ended up with a 5-day depression. You love to see it!
You know, maybe this review doesn't matter to a lot of people. Oh, I wonder if he's called the West with less subscribers and working neurons is trying to make a video on a Disney show. And yeah, you're right, the video doesn't really matter. But it matters to me, you know. I wanted to make a video on a show that I thought deserved better, and even if the video bombs, then hey, at least I said everything that I wanted to say.
I'm not gonna lie, but I've always thought that season 1 was kind of underwhelming, I guess? It wasn't necessarily a bad season, but let me start from the beginning. Okay, I have decided right at this moment to rank every episode of every season in a tier list, which clearly won't make anybody mad. Oh, I'm super hyper fucked. Honestly, the beginning half wasn't that bad. The premise of the story is that Luz is a kid who is socially struggling at school, considered a weird kid if that was the accurate term to bringing a dozen or so snakes to school, and is sent to summer camp to be reformed into a normal member of society. That's fine and all, you know, but I don't know why I just chuckle at the thought that you change your personality slightly and I can start hearing the A&B music playing in the background. I'm the weird kid misunderstood by everybody else, and I brought a dozen or so snakes to school. Where do you even find them? But before she gets the boot to the camp, and literally the moment her mom leaves, she finds an owl that stole one of her books, and after chasing the little owl, realizes that she wasn't in Kansas anymore. Well, I mean, the story takes place in Connecticut, but the joke was funnier with Kansas, at least in my head. After that, she meets a magical witch called Ida, gets into some wacky shenanigans, and decides that lying to her mom will totally be okay and not have any repercussions on the future.
Don't worry, guys, it's gonna be fine.
The episode is mostly fine, but then they get to the part in which they go to the reformatorium, and there are characters that honestly fell a bit flat, and the whole scene just wasn't that funny to me. But apart from that, I think that it was a pretty good introduction to a series. B tier. Honestly, I'm slightly mixed on this episode because on one hand, I do think that it's a charming episode about Luz learning not to take shortcuts and to take things one step at a time, as well as the fact that this world really is nothing like what the magic books at Earth say it is. But on the other hand, you're trusting what a random stranger tells you to do without question? If I was your mother, I would diss you faster than Eminem could ever do while switching my dialect in 3 different nationalities. Honestly, a really charming episode introducing many different aspects of the Boiling Isles, like the fact that they've got their own best value hallways, child safety violations and all. It also introduces the many important side characters that we'll see throughout the show, and it also shows some of my favorite aspects of the Owl House as a whole. The show always feels like it's progressing in some way or another, even if it feels like it's very small. It always feels like the show reveals another piece of the puzzle when it comes to the lore of the Isles and the characters, even if it is, for the most part, minuscule. Like in some occasions. Overall, I found the episode to be very charming. Oh, and Amity was introduced. A tier.
Now, I'm not gonna use this image just yet. However, I want you to know that this will be a surprise tool that will help us later.
Hey, speaking of every episode having some relevance to the characters in the story, we have episode 4, bringing us a bit of backstory to Ida. In the episode, Luz is really desperate to learn magic, which I mean, I would kinda be desperate too, I ain't even gonna lie. However, Ida is tired and wants to take a nap, and because of her impatience as well as King's need for attention, they end up summoning the boogeyman himself. And now, through their confrontation, not only does Luz actually learn her first spell, but her and King also learn that the Owl Beast was Ida, the Owl Lady. Yeah, I mean, if you saw any of the episodes before, you would have probably guessed the Owl Lady wasn't called that because of fucking Hooty or something like that. Ida became this way after someone mysteriously cursed her. I wonder who that could have been. We are really close to an S tier in here, but it lacks a certain oomph, so I feel like an A tier is the more fitting tier in here. In this episode of the week, conventions!
God, I can smell the weeps from here. Oh, wait, I'm getting a call. Hello?
Who's the one making a long-ass video about Disney cartoon?
The episode reveals a lot of neat details, specifically relating to Ida and her past, and I thought the interactions with Luz and Amity were really nice. I won't use the sign just yet though. This also expands a bit more on the world of the Owl House, showing the coven system that has ruled Bonesborough for decades, maintaining magic under control but also causing the loss of freedom in what magic you can do, and people who don't join covens are mostly considered dangerous, like Ida, giving another reason on why she's on the run. Overall, it's not the best episode, but it sure as hell is a pretty good one, so I'll give it an A tier. I honestly didn't care a lot about this episode. It felt a bit slow compared to the ones we got beforehand, and it felt somewhat predictable as a result. It's kind of boring, honestly. Like, from the get-go, you can tell, oh, they do the thing they're clearly not supposed to do, they do the shenanigans and get in trouble, they fix the issue, and chances are they won't even get in big trouble, and that's basically what I predicted, and lo and behold, that's the exact sequence of events, and Nia is having a duel. Sends a man to a shadow realm or something like that. Put the Kaiba scream in here, please. It's not entirely bad, but it's not my favorite, really. I'll give it a D tier. Luz was tasked with returning some books to the library. She sees Amity smile once and decides to befriend her on the spot.
That's it, I'm using the sign. My fucking god, these bitches gay. Good for them, good for them.
Honestly, I feel like it should be expected that the best episodes also happen to be the ones in which these two characters interact. Regardless of what the context is, their dynamic in the series was always one of my favorites without a doubt. Well, in the episode, there's a shooting star that makes books come to life, and Amity's siblings are there to cause mayhem. And Luz follows them because, and I quote, if she befriends her siblings, she can befriend the Amity. And I find that simply funny to me because I get the same energy from that phrase as those shitpost Master Uwe posts, you know the ones. Trouble arises, but the Scooby-Doo gang manages to make it right once again. A tier. Little problem. The first time I watched this one, I got so bored and just skipped around to the end. I could basically predict what was gonna happen, and I found the episode kind of boring, so I didn't even bother to rewatch it. I'll give it the F and move on. Alright, we got a nice Gus episode in which the Human Club gets into shenanigans and whatnot. It was nice, not the best. I found Bartholomew to be an entertaining character, and overall, the episode didn't bore me, so B. You know, I've already mentioned that I like how it feels like the world building and story never really take a break in the Owl House, but I found that so, especially in this episode, even if it feels like one of the less important ones in comparison. I didn't care much about King's troubles, but I really liked the story of Luz trying to get Ida's talisman back, and how it gives meaning to a character that really only seems like a one-up character. You know, only seen in cameos and other things. I didn't care about one of the stories, but the other one was really enjoyable personally, so I'll give it a B. This was another one of the episodes in the series I wasn't really big on, and most of these episodes I noticed are those that are not even bad, but simply are predictable, and as a result interest me less than a normal episode would do. And it's weird because I never really experienced this on video games as a result of the gameplay being the hook, line, and sinker of the attraction show. Therefore, if the story is predictable, who really cares, right? But in a show or movie, I want to feel like I'm watching something new, and I end up having problems when I feel like I can predict what the general outline of the episode will be. With that said, Luz and King are trying to write a book as King wants to rule nerds or something, and while writing the books, King gets a bit of an ego boost thinking he's hot shit, but in the end he had the coldest of thirds, realizing that he needed Luz in order to become a proper author.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's more literate than Goku. Like, at all.
The episode, it was honestly just kind of meh, so I'll give it a D tier and move on.
Okay, so in order to be prepared for whatever is about to come, I decided to print a couple more copies of this image. I may have gone a bit overboard. This is only gonna get worse from here. We haven't even finished season 1 yet.
In this episode, Luz is even more desperate than before to learn actually new spells, as if she doesn't learn at least 2 spells before taking her school entrance exam, then she's getting booted into the tutorial class, and nobody wants the tutorial class. And so, Ida takes her on a mission to discover more elements. A training arc, some may say. Whoa, there's the greens! Luz just doesn't think that Ida is cooking shit with her training weights and decides to take matters to her own hands. Quite literally, she grabs the one that Amity has to use to learn new spells and just starts sticking around with it. Why do AA batteries exist in this realm? Motherfucker, why does a wand need charging? A wand? Magic? Why does that need charging? Anyways, at the end of the day, Luz simply needed to listen to Ida like she should have done in the beginning. Because why are you doubting someone who is as powerful as Ida? Oh wait, clown behavior 24/7. Never mind, I get it. This episode is really neat. Obviously not the best episode of the series, but it's just nice to see these characters interact with each other. Ain't that so, Disney?
Therapist speaking.
I got beef in this motherfucker!
Oh yeah, the episode is a B tier. I genuinely don't remember anything about this episode except that it wasn't bad, so I'll just put it on a C tier and move on with my life. In this episode, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. King is jealous that Luz has more friends now and that she isn't spending quality time with him as much anymore, and makes a deal with a very shady person that should probably not be trusted in 10 out of 10 situations to get rid of Gus and Willow from his hair for at least 15 minutes until the plan backfires and all the squad gets turned into a little ant. From there, they have their little conflict and whatnot, and then everything's fine with the world. C tier. Episode 15! Now this is peak fiction, brothers! Throughout the entire series, one of the most interesting dynamics was that of Willow and Amity, as even though they both get along well with Luz,
very well in some cases,
they just never really got along that well with each other, and we knew there was a reason why, but we never got that information until it was relevant, which I actually find that to be a pretty cool choice. Makes the progression of the story seem more natural, I guess. Willow and Luz are in the class where they have a memory picture thingamajig, and in them we get a glimpse of the past between these two characters, but Willow seems very apprehensive towards that memory. Amity, on the other hand, she is willing to burn that motherfucker, so Willow just forgets about it, but in the process burns pretty much Willow's entire memory. Whoops! And so Luz and Amity have to go into her mind and fix her brain. Wait a minute, this is just Psychonauts! I love Psychonauts! The more that the duo venture into the mind of Willow, the more the viewers start to question the why of their strenuous relationship. Like, in every memory, they seem to be extremely good friends, until the very end, in which the inner Willow decides to show the duo what happened to make a friendship as strong as that break. Willow was never a powerful witch, at least not during her childhood, and as a result, she was considered weak, which Amity's parents were absolutely not having. After all, according to them, Blights don't associate with weaklings, and as a result, Amity had to put on a facade and act like Willow was too weak to be her friend, when in reality, she was the one that was weak. After that, well, Willow doesn't immediately forgive Amity. However, she's willing to try again. Ending the episode. I really like this episode. Not only does it show a friendship being fixed, but it's also not an immediate process, which I like, you know? It feels a bit more realistic. This episode is an 8. It's not even an A tier, it's an S tier. It's pretty good, I'll say.
3 occasions. In 3 separate occasions throughout the entirety of the show will the imaginary button be pushed. And when that happens, well, I think you can already imagine what's gonna happen.
In this episode, prom!
Damn it, out of all the times to spit 0 game!
So the characters are preparing for prom, or Grom, in this world, and the Grom Queen / King will be determined before the dance, and apparently it's not a very good thing to get chosen, and the person chosen for this year's Grom is Amity! As you will expect, she isn't very excited to be the Grom Queen, and Luz doesn't even understand what the thing is about. So, as it turns out, the thing is actually a dance, that much was true, but the queen or the king also have to fight an evil monster that is set out to destroy everything, which also shapeshifts into their worst fear.
Really, man, am I watching The Owl House or am I watching Harry Potter?
As Amity is explaining,
Actually, I just realized it couldn't be Harry Potter because of, you know, LGBT stuff.
Anyways, Amity is explaining this, and I can only imagine that the only thing going on Luz's head is my dick has led me to places that I wouldn't even go to if a gone. The reason I say this is because she wants to take the place of Amity with no hesitation or regard for her safety. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not the first time that this has happened, and it certainly won't be the last time it happens. Luz takes Amity's place in the dance, and obviously you can tell that something will happen that will make the problem much bigger. But the thing is that what makes this interesting is that we don't know what the issue is going to be. I mean, you can't have a very good guess of what it is if you pay good enough attention to the episode, or if you had Twitter or Instagram or any other cesspool of a website at the time of this episode coming out, but that's besides the point. The time for Grom comes and everything seems to be going well so far. There are some things that gross out Luz, but it's really nothing. Until the door appears and her mother comes out of the door. As it turns out, Luz's fear was simply her mom discovering what Luz has been up to, betraying her mother in order to go into some weird fantasy world in order to continue her delusions instead of trying to adapt to the world around her. And yes, I am trying to gas this episode up, as I should! Luz runs out of the school, but she has nowhere to go and gets cornered. That is until Amity comes for the safe, but then she gets captured as well by the monster, and it turns out that her fear was being rejected at Grom. And Luz solves this by asking her out to Grom instead.
I'm sounding the alarms! My fucking god, these bitches gay! Good for them, good for them.
I mean, the entire dancing is wonderful in and of itself. The choreography and smoothness of it all, the animation is just, it's really memorable. But really, we all know what we're here for. She literally wanted to ask her out in the first place, dog! Do I even need to explain why do I even need to explain why this goes on the S tier? I feel like I don't need to explain myself on this. I'm not gonna lie, the episode wasn't even bad, but I don't really care because it came right after Enchanting Grom fight, so I'll put it on B.
Emotional damage!
Alright, we finally got into the finale of this first season. Dear Mother of God, what did I get myself into? Okay, I need you all to understand how stupid I am for thinking that making this into one big huge video talking about the Owl House really is. Right now I'm in the finale of the season, yeah? I'm on page 6. There's 24 pages. And 16,000 words while we're at it. Oh my god, someone help me here! Ida's curse is getting considerably worse as it's shown in the episode. And Luz starts getting worried about it because of course she doesn't want her teacher to start turning her head 180 degrees. But before she can do anything about it, she has to go on a field trip to the Emperor's castle.
Oh no!
She notices an item that may help her cure Ida and was going to try to steal the item, but she doesn't have the time to set the plan into motion. And when trying to get the item with the help of her friends, Amity isn't here because she broke her leg in the last episode, but again, the episode wasn't that important. They get captured and Luz is used as bait to draw Ida out of the Owl House. Then she comes crashing the party and a huge fight between her and her sister. God, I sure hope I mentioned Lilith at any point in the script. breaks out, and then Lilith just lets her mouth slip by a bit too easily.
And why were you so easy to curse?
Now this, obviously, as any reasonable person would do, makes Ida go apeshit on Lilith, but certain things happen. AKA, Luz tried to solve the problem and it did not work. And Ida ends up sacrificing herself to stop Luz from becoming mush, at the exchange of her completely losing control to the Owl Beast and leaving Luz like this when she comes home. In the second part of the finale, they are basically trying to break Ida out of Stone Jail, as, you know, that would be pretty bad for the characters if that happened. So with the combined efforts of our main characters, except Broken Legs, they get pretty close. Until the plan starts failing. Luz fights with the fucking final boss when she hasn't even learned combo tech and chrono triggered your ass at the game, brother! I swear this reference will make more sense the more we go into a season, please trust me. She also has to sacrifice her only way home, and as a result will become what should be a missing child. But that's a problem in another therapy session we'll have for later. I thought the finale was pretty good overall. Clearly not the best finale in all cartoons. I feel like I've been saying that a lot when talking about the Owl House. Much less one of the best episodes in the cartoon history. Season 1 already had one of those, and I don't know if lightning can strike twice like this, you know. But both episodes I feel deserve the A-tier spot very well. Season 1 of the Owl House was definitely them tipping their toes into the water and seeing what worked and what wouldn't work so much. While the season I would say was overall very enjoyable and a good watch, I can safely say I probably wouldn't have cared about the show that much had I watched it before season 2 came out. The entire season felt like a roller coaster with some pant-shedding moments, while in others it felt like Winnie Hot Avenue, local resident, the fucking clown watching this episode, aka me. Many of the episodes felt like another cartoon episode color and character swapped for me with very minor differences, and I wasn't really a big fan of how that was handled. But really when it comes to complaints, I don't really have any more honestly. When first watching the first season, my opinion of it was way more negative than before, but now looking back on it, I really like the progression of the series, the pace at which it expands the world of the Bowling Isles and the characters around it, and the characters were simply a delight to watch. And when the show hit, it fucking hit, man. I don't think it's the best season. I would definitely consider it the worst of the 3. However, that also has to do with the huge quality increase of the other 2 seasons.
7 pages. 7 pages just for the first season. That shit's already as long as a Pokemon special, and even that wasn't 8 pages. I will know because it's right here. I have it right here. Wait, am I holding the right page? Yes, I have it right here. Oh my god, I regret doing this so much.
I would generally consider Season 2 the best season. Now, at the time of writing the script, the final episode of Season 3 hasn't released, but even then, it's a bit of an unfair fight from frame 1 cause you're comparing 3 episodes, good episodes, don't get me wrong, and I really hope the ending is good so I don't get on the clown patrol for this. Season 1 was a nice start with very good moments, but ultimately didn't reach the full potential it could have had. Season 2 was just, the brakes were off. Dana Terrace and her team put their foot on the pedal and fucking drove off a cliff. Multiple characters get a chance to shine like they couldn't before. Characters that we thought were mainly one-dimensional have layers added to them throughout the season. Characters we thought were bad had a good side, and the characters that we thought were bad somehow became even bigger pieces of shit. The world building kicks into absolute overdrive, constantly expanding on what we knew from the world, and the characters are only a small part of these revelations. Every episode serves a big purpose to the overall plot, and the stakes were definitely raised for this season as a whole. It feels darker for a Disney show, and you feel worried for what the future looks like for these characters, but the only thing that you can do is simply watch, as all the pieces collect themselves into a grand finish that connects into the final season, episode by episode. And God, is it fun to watch. This episode mainly serves to show how the dynamic in the Owl House family has changed from seasons. Ida lost her powers, meaning that Luz is the one who is doing all the magic now, and as a result they're struggling to gain more money, and Luz feels particularly guilty about that, so she tries to help by capturing and trying to kill a giant sea monster. As it turns out though, the sea monster was actually just protecting her child and whatnot. Luz and Nita have a little discussion and make up sooner than later, and we get introduced to the Golden Guard. Keep an eye for him, I sense the need for therapy from 3 screens away. The episode was a nice introduction to the second season. Obviously not the best, but very enjoyable nonetheless. B tier. The Wonder Bread trio tries to avoid getting expelled because of a little accident that Amity had. In this episode, we get to see her actual parents. And they are dicks. Well, I shouldn't be surprised now, should I? Anyways, they were showing some products and using Amity to sell the products. But she lets her photo with Luz slip, and then she gets mad and breaks the product, to which her mom gets super petty because, you know, she lost a lot of money, as if they weren't rich already, and decides to expel a lot of them. They try to get back in different ways, and fail, but Luz finds the solution to this problem, and that solution is to simply deal with Amity's mom, and well, you can assume that doesn't go very well. The gang goes to save Luz. There is a little line for the fans to squeal over, including me. They get their problem solved, the sales go up, and the kids were allowed back to school. Happy ending for everyone. The episode was really nice. I found the humor nice. Holy shit, I have not talked about the comedy in this series. I am genuinely appalled. Well, to summarize, I found the entire series very charming and funny when it needed to be. It always knew how to pace itself and not overly abuse the comedy, and if I had to compare it, I'll probably put it alongside Gravity Falls in comedy, which is pretty good. Anyways, I think the episode is a solid A tier. In this episode, King, Luz, Hooty, Lilith, and later on Nita decide to go to the island in which King is born, to prove that he is indeed a king, and when they get to the uninhabited island, they quickly get attacked in a temple by a weird monster, and at that moment Nita reveals to King that he wasn't a king. Ever. However, Luz believes that there is something that is missing in this puzzle, and that is the roof of the temple, as there is the place in which King hatched from an egg, giving him back his memory of birth and recognizing someone calling him out by son. And as it turns out, the monster in the temple was simply trying to protect King. So whoever in the temple was living there before abandoning King, he was probably someone very important. From there, Luz promises to help King find out who he is, and hopefully find his father as well. This episode was very sweet, expanding upon King's character and establishing future revelations that will be really important to later on. It shows Ida's character very well, as she didn't want to hurt King, hashtag best adopted mother. And overall, it was just a really nice King episode. Something that I do want to mention, however, is that the pacing of the series is considerably faster in the second season. An aspect I appreciate a lot, but it feels as though sometimes the pacing can be a little too fast, which is probably a result of some son of a bitch company, Disney, you mother...
Son of a bitch, you are lucky I like this game, Disney.
I forgot to say, but this episode is I think it's a A tier. And in today's episode of the Owl House, we have mommy issues. That's right, fellas, it's that time of the day again. Ida's mom comes in to check in on her daughter, claiming to have finally found a cure to her curse. But Ida is definitely not buying it one bit, and promptly sends her on her merry way. Luz, on the other hand, with no way to check on her own mom, which she hasn't seen in months, decides to help Ida's mom because projecting is the best therapy, and believe me, this will come back up later. They try multiple different solutions, but none of them seem to work whatsoever. And on the meanwhile, Lilith is having some problems on her own. She feels neglected by her mother, who doesn't even seem to pay attention to her whatsoever. Especially now, after the finale, in which, to stop Ida from staying as, well, dad, she decides to share the curse, so now both of them are cursed. Yay! Anyways, the plan goes horribly wrong. Lilith gets too stressed and also turns into an owl beast, and the supposed cures were from a bunch of con artists posing as a wise person with the answer to all of your problems. Chaos ensues, and they formulate a plan to stop the two monsters from destroying the entire city, first restraining them and then having some good heart-to-heart conversations. Her mom apologizes for not being able to accept that the owl curse is just going to be forever a part of Ida, and that she should just accept the curse like Ida did, and she apologizes to Lilith for not paying enough attention to her when she needed it the most. After they solve the conflict, Lilith decides to move with the family once more, and the other guys just kind of go on with their lives. Like most Season 2 episodes so far, I thought that the episode was quite good, and I am honestly running out of things to say about these episodes because my abilities to review stories are like that of reviewing music. I'm not built for this. A tier. An episode focused on Gus. By the way, I fucking hate saying Gus because every time that I say it, I have to hold on the restraint from making a stupid joke about Breaking Bad. Gus is feeling a bit down because his illusions ended up hurting and hindering Willow more than actually helping her in the long run, making him feel as though maybe those skills aren't the right ones after all. But before he can keep sulking any further, he gets surprised by Luz, who wants to use his library card to visit Amity.
I don't make the rules, folks. I only follow and thoroughly abuse them to a point of total comedic exhaustion and frustration to fans watching from the other side.
On their way to the library, Gus meets a group of kids from Glandis, a school competing with Hexside. Wait, did I mention Hexside in this video? Holy shit, I am so tired! Gus decides to tag along with them to a side quest and leaves Luz to her own romantic antics. While Gus is searching for treasure, fame, power, Goldie Roger, the king of the pirate, Luz and Amity are out in the library searching for a diary that Ida's mom told Luz about earlier on her episode, which is said to be written... Ow! Which is said to be written by a human who was once here in the Bowling Isles and possibly managed to find a way home. Amity helps Luz because...
My fucking god!
They have to go to a part of the library that could get Amity fired. They go in there without hesitation, they find the book, but there's a rat! Luz gets absolutely pissed and screams inside the library, which obviously gets her in trouble, gets Amity fired, and these two are now sad. No! On the other hand, Gus and the Glandis gang plus Bartholomew, who just kind of tagged along, are looking for the treasure and... God, my memory is really biased to certain parts of the episode. Gus is using different glyphs given to him by Luz to solve many problems they face on the journey, and actually managed to get to the treasure place, which, once they find it, they find these powerful stones, which could both benefit the students power-wise and financially speaking. And it is right here where we realize that these guys are basically just a bunch of bullies looking to become more powerful, and a dragon appears out of thin air to stop them from taking the treasure. But then Gus stops it with an illusion as he realized that the place was an illusionist graveyard, so what better way to beat an illusion than with another illusion, am I right? That's when they meet this silly old guy who was protecting the graveyard and stopping people from accessing the stones, as illusionists don't really have their abilities enhanced by the stones, so they are the least likely to do anything evil with the stones, which is proven correct in exactly around probably 5 seconds. They formulate a plan to scare the kids away, basically do a whole ass VR simulation, and successfully scare the Glandis kids away. Mission passed! On the other hand, back at Amity's house, she's venting to her siblings, talking about how thanks to Luz she's done and thought of stuff that she's never done before. I feel like I'll get in a lot of trouble because of this joke, huh? Well, that's my own grave that I'm digging! Anyways, a really nice character moment happens in which her sister asks her if she wants to dye her hair green again, but instead decides to paint it purple, representing how her parents have virtually no more control over her. And all of a sudden, she is surprised by Luz, who went through a whole ass episode on the side to get Amity her job back. And that's when they both realized the rat that screwed them over was actually important because they can play back the memories of the books that they eat. Well, we should have known that earlier, huh? So what this means is that they can see the parts of the diary that the rat ate. And afterwards, Amity says...
Don't worry. You always have a way of sneaking into people's hearts.
You know, I'm just realizing that I printed 5 different copies of this for a single joke that I probably won't use again in another video. I should really consider getting into new hobbies.
Well, that was a very good episode, ignoring the squeals of the fans. It was nice to see Gus doing some stuff on his own, you know, but honestly, who really cares? If I had to rank the episode, I would say the A tier fits it very well. Holy shit, I'm just on episode 6! People are getting their talisman. Well, you know, that's pretty nice. Willow, Gus, and Amity all managed to get their own little guys, but Luz doesn't actually get one. Huh. The way that they do the selection is that you tell your dreams and motivations to the talisman, and hopefully one of them will pass the vibe check and become your life partner. Luz, on the other hand, didn't have any of those, whether that is because her ambitions are shallow or she's purposely hiding them or something else. We don't know, and season 3 is not for another 20 minutes or so. I hope it's 20 minutes. While the talisman are having the time of their life, the Golden Guard is sent on a mission to capture the talisman, but is switched out with this absolute bastard fucking gremlin of a character. Oh, she's also known as Kikimora, if you want to know that. He decides to do the mission first because his dad / uncle, don't remember, is the fucking emperor, and he really needs his fix, so he wants to impress him. On the other hand, Luz is sulking because she couldn't get her small little friend, so she kind of sneaks in to see if she can get one, just in time for the guards to come in and swoop the loot. From there we go on a little journey trying to rescue the Palisman. The Golden Guard betrays Luz after it seemed like they could be buddies. We were so close, goddammit! The Palisman are rescued, the day is saved, and this man got a Palisman? Honestly, if it feels like I have no commentary to give throughout most of these episodes, it's because I don't have anything major to say that I haven't said before. I like the characters, I like the dynamic of enemies having to collaborate even if temporarily, and the Golden Guard, wait, no, by this point they already start calling him Hunter now. I hope they do. Hunter is starting to grow more on me. I liked him during the first episode, however I am really starting to like his character more, and it will only increase as the show goes on. Overall, 8-tier episode. My god, can we just get to episode 8 already? In this episode, King and Luz are training for a certain race as they feel that it may bring attention to King and hopefully allow him to send a message to his dad. But Ida feels a bit sad as a result because she takes it as a sign that he wants to leave, and she already knows that Luz has been planning for a way to get back to the human realm. So she's having the real... But no time to be sad because Ida meets her ex, who is a coven head, but they're also a rebel, you know? They have a whole squad rebelling against the Emperor, and Ida decides to join in on the fun, and that's pretty much what they were doing the entire episode. Meanwhile, King and Luz have their little race, and it's going well and smooth, but while Ida was watching the race, she gets called by the boys as they have a new heist. But it's an ambush by 2 coven heads, but it's good because they have a strategy to stop it. Self-sacrifice.
I feel like there was a better solution to this dilemma.
But that's when Rain, that's their name by the way, realizes that Ida has 2 children and decides to throw the mission to the side because at the end of the day, she still has a family to go to. And so they get captured to protect Ida, who manages to come back just in time to watch Luz and King finish the race. Like 5th place or something like that. But honestly, that's not really what matters because King has an announcement to make, and that is that he is illegally changing his name to King Clothorn, which kind of makes him Ida's son for real now, and aw. This is a pretty touching moment, you know. Who the fuck? Episode's on? I thought it was really sweet seeing Ida on the spotlight once more. At this point in the series, it could kind of feel like she wasn't getting enough protagonist time compared to the rest of the gang, and it's always nice seeing a new side of her. The episode felt to me like an episode that will set up multiple future events, and I don't entirely dislike that one bit. Look at the only figure I've bought in the last 7 years. I think the episode sits comfortably a B, and maybe the reason I feel its way is because bias of knowing what happens next because holy shit! They did it! They fucking did it! Those bastards went ahead and made the best fucking episode! And it's about Hooty! In this episode, Luz, Ida, and King are all having different issues of their own. King is still unsure of who he is, he's also going through puberty. Ida is trying to grow stronger because she is basically worthless at this point while trying to also figure out what Bells is trying to do. And Luz can't get the rat to do what she fucking wants, and that's an issue because without the rat she can't make her way into Amity's heart. Wait, what?
Oh, Outhouse, you don't give me what I want, you give me what I need. A couple more seasons would be very nice though.
So Hooty, who at this point was going through his depression arc, feeling like he wasn't appreciated, decided that he was going to help his fellow roommates. Actually, now that I think about it, wouldn't it just be the voices inside his head? He decides to start with King, who was trying to figure out what kind of demon he really is, and in order to help him, he decides to run a couple of tests to see if he was any kind of the 3 demon kinds. And after many different tests, they reach a result. A fat nothing.
Well, that was pointless.
Considering how he was already feeling bad beforehand, and the fact that he felt like this time was an entire waste of time, King gets reasonably mad at Hooty, but that leads to him discovering a new power he didn't know he had. But Hooty feels he made the situation worse and decides to run away and off to help Ida next. Ida wants to gain powers fast to be able to fight against Bellows, but the problem is that she has a fat 0 magic power in her body right now. So Hooty does what Hooty does best, put Ida to sleep because, as he says, a nap a day keeps an ugly owl beats away. I may have over exaggerated the phrase a bit. Ida takes a trip through her mind in which she simply resents how the owl curse affected her life more and more, to the point of snapping and trying to fight back against the curse, which was a futile effort. Staring at the coast, she sees the owl beast in its true form, which is a normal looking owl demon. That shit is adorable! She decides to try to understand the owl beast more, as that's a part of her that will never go away, which leads to her unlocking the Harpy Woman Ida mode, but Hooty thinks that he made it worse? Well, that doesn't matter. Off to help Luz! Okay, so Luz should be trying to get back home, but she's a bit conflicted, so she instead asks the rat for relationship advice. But, you know, who am I to judge? Hooty decides that the best way of helping Luz is simple. Kidnapping.
He kidnapped Amity. Hooty, what are you gonna do next? Are you gonna try to force him to fall in love?
Amity sees this, she'll think I'm such a loser.
What is this?
Oh my god.
So, Luz and Amity are now in the Tunnel of Doom to get out of the basement, and Luz is dying of sheer embarrassment, and Amity is panicking in a good way, but Luz doesn't realize that, and to prevent herself from being embarrassed once more, she just starts breaking a bunch of shit, but indirectly makes Amity sad as she believes that the problem may just be that Luz doesn't want to be with her. And that's the straw that broke the, camel's back. I don't think the example works here because of Hooty. Anyways, Hooty just starts going crazy afterwards, believing that maybe he is just a nuisance. Which in part he is. The gang has to formulate a plan of action to stop him from destroying everything, and that plan is to get Luz to ask Amity out. So they get the scenery all ready, and then the conversation happens, and at one point...
Do you want to go out with me?
No, I was so ready. I'm sorry, you can say it.
My fucking god! These bitches gay! Good for them! Good for them! Let's go!
And after that, everyone had their happy ending, and Hooty was never allowed to help anyone with shit ever again. The end. I'm not gonna say it's the best episode, but all I'm saying is that S tier is really good. When the episode originally came out, people thought that this was going to be a filler episode because Hooty was just kind of there 99% of the time. What the hell was he gonna contribute to the story? Well, here's what he did for the story. He made us realize that King has hidden potential that needs to be awakened. We get Ida completely accepting the curse, and that allows her to gain new powers for battle. And we get Luz finally being able to achieve one of her goals and being able to completely focus on searching for the way home. We made Lumity canon. No, not we. Hooty made Lumity canon. We essentially get 3 episodes on one, and those 3 adventures were all great in their own way. Absolutely fantastic episode. And side note, that one guy that looks like King's dad appears again. So now Luz has a fever, and I mean I can see it from here that there is not a thought going through that head. Literally the IQ equivalent to the room temperature of Alaska. All the gang are babysitting her, however, the mouse decides to do its one job and show Luz information about how to get back home. And Philip Woodbane, the guy who made the journal, starts talking about how there is a place in the need that has Titan's blood, which if the name doesn't make it clear enough, is something that is kind of important. But because Luz is out of her damn mind, Ida, King, and Amity decide to go on their own, leaving Gus and Willow to take care of Luz. On the other hand, Hunter goes to the knee as well, and the little gremlin is there as well, both of them trying to get on the Emperor's good graces. However, Hunter is forced to collaborate with the group until they get close enough, in which at that point he betrays their asses and dashes to the blood for himself to keep. Although when the gang manages to catch up and after Ida starts mastering her harpy powers and starts distracting the guards, Amity and King arrive to Hunter ready to be actually murdered in cold blood when he comes back home. Okay, so there's a subplot of Amity being worried that Luz will do something to her if she fails, a little parallel between Hunter and Amity, and more importantly between Luz and Bellows, which is resolved rather quickly all things considered, but when she's giving Hunter a nice speech or something, he just so happens to see the key to the portal which Amity has because Luz tried to eat it and it turns into a whole thing. The fight is really freaking good, very well choreographed, and taking advantage of both King and Amity's strengths, which makes the fight overall one of the better fights in the season. The fight ends in a draw as a result of Hunter using blackmail to get Amity to hand over the key. You could have done that from the beginning! Ida comes back to see the defeated heroes and they all decide to come back home, and right on time because that's when Luz awakes from her fever, and she's just glad that they came back safely. Something I should mention is that Hunter is starting to build a friendship with the talisman that he got from the prior episode he was on, and its name is Flapjack. Now don't worry, that won't matter just yet. This episode was really good. This isn't the usual pair of characters that we normally see together, so it was really nice to see these characters just interacting together, and it's nice to see how much these characters care for and understand Luz. When Amity was telling King about her doubts about what Luz was saying, King immediately calls the bullshit card because really that's simply not who she is, and Amity realizes it too. You know the amount of shows that will make a whole plot point about this when really this simply makes a lot more sense? Not forced drama, but instead the characters knowing each other very well and making assumptions based on how well they know those people. It's just, oh my god. You know how many cartoons will do something like the total opposite and end up in total shit? I'm just saying, this... Oh my god, I'm getting angry just thinking about it. I'll give this episode a solid B tier.
Well, I thought that this was simply going to be a doppelganger episode, but I may need to make a couple of calls now.
You and me both.
Okay, so... where do I begin? Is to get a portal door working, and by working I mean that you gotta squint very hard to see the resemblance to the last one, because this is the example of what is advertised, and this is an example of what is given to the customer. Just to see how her mom is doing, because remember, by this point it is very likely that she is considered missing, and she doesn't know how her mom is taking it, but imagine her surprise when she sees herself? There's been a recurring mystery in Season 1, because we see someone who looks exactly like Luz back on the human world, just doing whatever alongside Camilla, but we never know exactly what the duplicate wants, or even if they are good or evil to begin with. When Luz meets with her, obviously, the doppelganger panics, runs out and gets trapped by a trap set on the house in which Luz first found the demon realm, in which now at this point Luz and her are able to talk calmly, and Luz helps this demon, named B, to escape the trap, and now sets out to find some sort of magic so that way she can stay in her human form. They meet with some kids that were also at boot camp, at least I think they were at boot camp, I can't remember right now, and they go to some places as well, and eventually she gets captured by Sonic!
I just can't get away from this guy!
Thankfully it was the modern Sonic, not the adventure Sonic, that would have been weird! This is when Luz finally gets to reunite with her mom, who obviously doesn't believe the story of the demon realm until Luz takes her to a place in which B has been held captive, and subsequently rescues her. Then when they get home, Luz thanks her mom for helping her out, but her mom nearly breaks down from sheer worry. She is at least happy that Luz seems to have matured a little, but then she immediately gets mad again because she believes that Luz left out of pure sheer will, which she did, it was her own decision. But, oh my god, this scene hurts my heart every time. At the end of their little discussion, Luz is pulled back to the demon realm, and Camilla wants her to promise that she will stay with her after she comes back from the human realm, to which Luz reluctantly agrees to. This episode was fucking spectacular, man, full stop. Camila, oh my god, absolute GOAT character, makes me want to stand up and bust a groove. I remember seeing that apparently she was disliked by some portion of the fandom throughout these parts of the series as a result of her conversation with Luz, which honestly sounds so fucking silly to me. I feel like you gotta remember that this is just a mom that just discovered that her daughter potentially abandoned her to go on some Best Valley Harry Potter world, which is still equally as dangerous, has no current method of coming back, just to go and stay there out of her own volition. Do you have any idea how hard that must be to accept? It's a miracle that Luz got the most supporting mom in the world, because, you know, accepting the weird literal demon with open arms, I'm pretty sure that that's something that most people wouldn't do. She just wants her daughter back, and generally if you find something remotely evil or manipulative out of a mom that wants her child to be saved, then I don't even know what to tell you. This episode is an S tier, there's no doubt about it. Okay, I feel like it was about time for the Owl House Season 2 to have a miss, or at least an episode that wasn't as good as the rest of the lineup, because while this episode wasn't necessarily the worst, it's definitely one of the lower points in Season 2. Luz is obviously very much sad over what happened with her mom and is afraid of telling everyone, so she hides what happened to her friends and decides to basically project all of her problems to Kikimora, who is mixed between abandoning her position in the coven or heading home back to her family. At the same time, Ida is making a plan to kidnap Rain to question them because she wants to make sure that they're okay and see if anything happened to them after they were captured. The plan is to strike during the festival happening later that day, have King and Hooty cause pandemonium on the festival, and take the opportunity to snatch both Kikimora and Rain. Boom! Flawless plan! On the other hand, Amity is worried about Luz because she found her phone and it had a video recorded after visiting the door, so she plans to ask her about that thing later that night as well. The festival rolls around and the plan is set into motion, but there's one problem that will be this annoying grandma. Oh my god, do I hate her with the fury of 7 different Greek gods! Kikimora is a greedy ass bitch and betrays the group for a salary raise. My brother in Christ, are you dumb? You attempted abandoning your duty and you think... Oh. My god. Anyways, matters are resolved at the end, everyone ends up fine, Luz starts explaining the situation to Amity, and that's it, the end! Oh yeah, I guess Bellows does a face reveal, and that's gonna be kind of important later on, but I thought the episode was fine. It wasn't the best episode, also wasn't the worst. I felt like the main conflict simply didn't hook me as it should've. The whole Luz not wanting to tell their friends what happened and projecting her problems to Kikimora, it just didn't work for me, mainly because I already don't like the Red Goblin a lot, but also because it's like, it personally felt kind of predictable. Like, you know what was gonna happen. They had the plan was gonna go wrong, obviously Luz was gonna be questioned about it, and she was gonna have to fess up at the end. It was a C-tier episode, not bad. Okay, this one is a pretty good episode actually. Ida teaches Luz about some weird puddles that can travel through time, which piques her interest because she is trying to learn more about the diary of Philip and the way back home. So she grabs Lilith and they go on a quest to find one of those time puddles, which they surprisingly find very fast, and even faster is meeting with Philip. From there it's basically just them doing some miscellaneous things with the objective of meeting the Collector, which is supposed to hold info about how to get back home. They actually do manage to find their way into the place where the Collector is supposedly hidden, but it's at this point where it's revealed that Philip is a dick! Luz and Lilith barely make their way out of the death battle they got thrown into and rightfully break that bastard's nose, and even then they let him off the hook early. However, before the episode ends, we see one last glimpse of Philip meeting the Collector. I found the episode to be really entertaining, but there was one small issue that I had with it. See, in the last episode at the end, there's a scene of Bellows taking his mask off, we already established that, which is supposed to be a big revelation, clearly pointing towards the idea that the Emperor is human based on a plethora of factors, and by that I mean those are ears that are clearly not supposed to be pointing no matter how much you cut them, Philip! Then immediately in the next episode we see Philip, and we basically immediately see the revelation that he is Bellows. You know, with the whole Palisman soul sucking in the nose part, and it's very fucking obvious that it's Bellows, and it's a cool revelation, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it lacks the weight that it should have. Maybe this is a result of the cancellation of the show, but it absolutely feels as though they kind of had to reveal this way earlier than they intended, unless it's meant to be a moment of dramatic irony in which we know but the protagonists don't, and that'll become something huge later in the season. But personally I feel like the scene could have had more impact, maybe. But overall, B-tier episode, I'll say. It was pretty good. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Rewatching all of the episodes back to back and rewatching this episode in particular, this one kind of feels like a sleeper. Oh, fucking hell. Okay, here we go. If the other episodes had me playing God's theme on many occasions, this one just makes me want to play every kind of sad song that I can come across. Luz wakes up to a reminder from her phone that she seemingly wants to forget about, distracting herself with an impossible to finish in one day list that makes Ida and King know that something is up with her, definitely. But before they can really question her, they go do their own stuff, and immediately Amity appears to ask Luz for help. She wants to go to a tournament and win a belt like her dad did back at her age. However, her parents want her to do the Emperor Coven tryouts, which obviously is a no-go for obvious reasons, so she decides to get Luz's help, distract the abomination meant to watch over her, and then they go onward with the brawl. As the brawl goes on, Luz keeps getting reminders for the event she's ignoring, more people are getting worried, and she slightly fucks shit up. But it's fine guys, don't worry! They actually manage to get to the end of the tournament, and they almost get the belt, but Amity's dad catches up to them and stops the tournament dead in its tracks. And Amity realizes that Luz fucked up and gets mad at both of them and dips. On the side plot, Ida is trying to get information about the whereabouts and well-being of Rain, and the plan is to make a truth serum for the guard who is the champion of the brawl, but one of Amity's siblings thinks it will be faster to heat up the potion with fire beasts and messes the formula up. Luz follows Amity to the tree from Enchanting Ground fight, in which Amity finally confronts Luz about her weird behavior, asking to know just what is up with her, to which Luz confesses.
Anymore, but today's the anniversary of my dad passing away. That's not an excuse for what I did. Like I said, it happened a while ago, so I didn't want to bring it up.
Luz's dad passed away, and every year her mom and her go collect flowers for his grave, like how he did for them when he was alive. But Luz is alone in the demon realm, and her mom is in the human realm, and there sure as hell ain't good flowers around here. and she wanted to help Amity because the conflict with her dad reminded her of her own struggles. Amity promises to help Luz pick some flowers after they solve the issue, and goes to help out with the situation happening over at the Brawl Arena, with Luz staying behind temporarily. The gang does their best efforts to hold the beast back until Luz comes in with a way to neutralize it, and they subsequently save the day. Afterwards, what was promised is now here, and Amity helps Luz pick and send those flowers to her father, ending the episode. You can't see it right now, but I feel like I'm about to cry. God, I haven't even watched the episode, I'm just thinking about it now. Oh my god. This may just be my favorite episode of The Owl House. It's really hard to tell. Whenever I think of The Owl House, this is one of the first episodes that always come up in my mind, and with all the good reason for it. This episode really made me love Luz and Amity as characters even more than before, and the tree scene, god, the tree scene is so damn heartbreaking. Everything from the voice acting to the animation and the facial expressions was it was so good, but my heart snapped in, not even two, it snapped in like a million pieces, and this episode, if anything, makes me even feel more sad about, like, Camilla. Not only does she want Luz back because she's her own daughter, but because she's really the only thing she's got left. Everything about this plot is perfect. It's an S tier, no doubt. Finally, an episode that I don't have to be as detailed on, oh my god! Okay, this is a small filler episode detailing the events that caused Ida and Rain to meet, and it's a cute little episode, and a much needed break from the 90 miles per hour the story was going at, and it's cute seeing so many characters when they were younger, and the episode also reveals that Rain is actually perfectly fine, just acting like he's been brainwashed. The episode is a nice B tier for me.
Thought I was done with the trauma and the therapy calls, but it seems like they just came back stronger than ever.
Okay, so this episode starts out with Ida and Luz trying to get her magic coat fixed, but being unable to because many more people are starting to be associated to covens by force per Emperor's mandate, leaving Ida and Luz with no other choice but to keep searching. That is, until they meet up with Hunter, who by coincidence is trying to catch some criminals, but he and Luz end up accidentally, probably, maybe, trapped in the Emperor's mind. Hollow mind!
That shit was not hollow!
They quickly find whatever the hell that is, and have to run away and quickly find themselves in a space similar to what Luz and Amity saw in Willow's mind. So they go into the mind of the Emperor and see if maybe they just have him all misunderstood. Maybe what Hunter said is right and he is just... maybe he's just really just a nice guy. Maybe he has some justification for his actions. Hunter and Luz search and see that the Emperor has been alive for a very long time, and that throughout all that time he's been gaslighting, gatekeeping, girlbossing throughout all the owls, slowly making his following across the place. It is also revealed that the Promise Day, wait, that's the name of the FMAB arc. They also learn through one of the flashbacks that Belos' true intentions are to eliminate all magic and witches alongside it, which if you ask me is not the most goodwill of plans. The final nail in the coffin is the Hall of Memories of all the past Golden Guards, and the revelation that Golden Guards are basically clones of Belos' brother who died a really long time ago. Can you guess how that happened? This is when they finally confront the inner Belos, who basically confirms what we were all expecting. This motherfucker is running to the core. He tries to kill Hunter without hesitation, and mentally tortures Luz by telling her his true identity. Philip Whitbane. The man she helped meet the Collector and the man she taught multiple glyphs to. She is absolutely devastated by the news, and I mean, I'm pretty sure most people wouldn't take the news that they helped a witch hunter cause mass genocide very well. Around this moment is when Ida manages to finish the potion to send Luz and Hunter back to the real world, with both of them clearly not taking what just transpired very well, and Hunter just runs off to another place to go into hiding, and when Ida and King ask what happened, the last thing we see is this reaction. God damn. I want to talk about just how magnificent Belos is as a villain. People originally thought that he was misunderstood, at least the creators tried to make it seem that way, and maybe he had his own reasons for doing what he did. But no, this man is an absolute asshole. This is a man from like the 1600s who was unable to actually get past his prejudices and destroyed nearly everything he cared for as a result. His brother and him were sent to this world after following a witch heavily hinted to be in some way related to Ida and also possessing Hunter's talisman. And after his brother actually accepted this world, realized it wasn't as bad as people thought, and even found love, well, you know, he was happy. But Philip? He thought this was a betrayal to basically all mankind, and because of the witch using wild magic, that's why he wants wild magic gone. At least that's what I remember being the reason. I could be remembering wrong, I don't know. He has cloned his brother multiple times trying to get him to be on his side. but every single time it has never worked, and every time he throws them all away, like garbage. He isn't good, he isn't misunderstood either. He wants to erase an entire race based off of a prejudice that his people had before even trying to understand them. Not every villain needs to be misunderstood. Sometimes they just need to be the scum of the earth, and Belus is just that absolutely wonderful villain. He's cunning, manipulative, just the worst overall person you can imagine. This episode had a lot of good moments. I'm really debating whether to put it on S tier. I'll put it on A+.
The emotional damage just won't stop coming!
The episode starts with Luz telling the Owl Gang what happened in the last episode and proceeds to break it down.
Appropriate reaction.
In the earlier episodes of Season 2, we see what may potentially be King's dad, and Hooty finally vomits out the invite the guide sent to King a couple of episodes ago, leading to Luz and King going out to find just what the hell is up with Dad. On a separate note, there's a very nice moment with Lilith and Nita in which she basically just starts breaking down.
Appropriate reaction.
She's worried for Luz and King. She feels like children shouldn't have to go through what's happening right now. And looking at Luz's state of mind, I feel like this is a point that I have to slightly agree with, if only slightly, but Lilith reassures her that it's gonna be okay.
You already know what I'm about to say, that's the best part of the joke!
King and Luz manage to get to the island and they meet up with the people, and they're all pretty nice folks. They're chill and they manage to get along with King and Luz just fine. They're having a jolly old time until they meet up with this old guy Bill, who reveals to Luz something horrifying. They're not demons, which will be fine, but the thing is that they're Titan hunters, which again, should be fine. But there's one detail that may be slightly worrisome, and that is that King may or may not be the last Titan in the world. Obviously, this quickly gets our protags in trouble, and they gotta run away from the Titan hunters and basically seal them off in their own island. And King has some mixed feelings after the fact, and now there's a chance that the actual islands may just be his dad. Whoop! This episode had a lot of good character moments for King, who honestly, I like the development he's gotten throughout the season, and it feels bad knowing you've been living in your dad this entire time, you know? The episode also had very good plot reveals that made things just more interesting all around. I'm running out of pure love at this point, so my commentary may be slowly getting worse as this video goes on, in case you haven't noticed, so I may need to use a skip card at some point. A+. Skip! So we're almost at the end, and it only took us 19 fucking pages, my brother in Christ, I cannot handle this anymore! Luz and King return to the Owls, only to find out that they're wanted criminals, and the Owl House has been absolutely looted. But there were some directions left for them to find Ida and Lilith, which are hiding out in the mountains. After they find them, they catch them up on the situation that happened with the Titan Trappers and reveal that King is the last Titan alive. Ida, meanwhile, is extremely concerned for Luz and King and plans to take them far away from any harm, but obviously she keeps it a secret. She and Luz go recover some stuff from King, and in there she manages to find contact with Rain and also accidentally reveals her intentions to Luz, who doesn't take it well whatsoever. And when asking Ida about it, Ida tells her the truth. She has no plan to beat Bellows, lacking the powers and the numbers to actually do anything against him, until it is revealed that there's a rebellion that is actively fighting against the Emperor led by Rain and Darius. This leads to them joining forces, leading to the Season 2 finale. Overall, pretty good episode, but I feel like the Ida and Luz conflict was resolved a bit too quickly, but apart from that, I think it's a good B tier.
Wow, I can't believe that I actually made it to a Season 2 finale. I can't tell if I had a great vision for this video or if I was a damn fool for thinking that this was a good idea in the first place.
The rebels are making a plan as to how to stop the Day of Unity, and the best thing that they can come up with is using Ida's weird magical mess-up thingamajig to neutralize the spell in order to save everyone from certain doom. On the other hand, Luz is very worried about what her friends are up to and wants to save them. And by them, I mean Amity. Ida then decides to help this girl in love by sending her straight to the Black Manor, and well, would you look at that, the entire squad's all here and ready to go! The squad manages to break into the mansion very easily. For a family known for designing actual war machines, their designs are really damn bad and easy to defeat. Meanwhile, the Blight children are all grounded because of them trying to define what her mother wants. Stupid asshole. No, yeah, I got no defense here, but at the same time, neither does she. Amity is extremely worried for Luz, but then starts thinking what Luz would do in this predicament. Which is when at this moment Luz appears in their balcony, and then...
Monsters, no mysteries, no deadly duels. It's going to be the most mundane slice of life date ever. And it'll be awesome.
I know.
Let's go! Let's go! fucking go! My fucking god!
This is one of the best moments in the season, but let's finish the finale first, how about that? They soon get captured by Odalia and a fight soon breaks out, with a personally funny moment of Odalia being all sorts of a bad person, but she will never be homophobic. Villains have standards, brother. Alador switches teams to the good guys after realizing he has contributed to a mass extinction event, and yet Odalia knew and didn't give a shit. Mr. Krabs, move over! Meanwhile, Kikimora comes into the brawl and snatches Hunter to take him to the Emperor, as she believes that this will give her a promotion or something. But can we talk about the insane Bell's dick riding though? I mean, Kikimora's bad enough, but especially Odalia, who just doesn't give a shit about sending the world to actual Armageddon. She's just in it for her sugar daddy or something. Anyways, Hunter gets captured, except it was actually Luz, which you could have guessed if you noticed Luz doing Hunter's technique a while back. This is when we start episode 21, which follows the other side of the rebellion for a bit as they put their plan into motion. Ira disguises as Rain, Sigil Null, and messes up the spell thanks to her anti-magic baloney. It sounds like a good plan until everything goes wrong. The rebellion gets separated, they catch Lilith and Rain, they beat their asses, and the spell is still currently in motion. Luz gets handed over to the Emperor, courtesy of Kikimora. Bellows betrays the Collector who he was working with and promised him a way out of his mirror dimension, and after all that, Luz decides to throw hands with Bellows because, I mean, what else can she do at this point? Now the Hex Gang plus Alador are making their way to the castle, and immediately they get attacked by the Emperor's Coven, and they get shot down, with Alador staying behind to hold the monsters back. Cut to Luz getting her ass handed to her while Rise of Kingdom adds plays. Luz, I have 3 billion power in Rise of Kingdom, you cannot defeat me! After getting swung around by Bellows for a good while, Bellows is just about to finish Luz off until she strikes a deal. Before that though, she calls him an old-fashioned man. She says, your drip is whack, your hairline is whack, your vocabulary is whack. Brother, you need me to guide you to the other worlds before you can rule or suck your own dick or whatever. And just when they're about to shake on it, she tricks him by concealing a glove that gives you a sigil and gives him one as well. And he immediately gets pretty pissed. Around this time is when the crew get in on the action to help Luz fight against Bellows. Meanwhile, outside their battle, the Day of Unity is taking place. So, you know, they gotta hurry it up. The fight with Bellows goes on, yet they have King Sid out of this one. And this is when he goes down to the place in which the Collector was thrown down and decides to free him in exchange for him stopping Bellows. And speaking of which, he really is trying to declare war on Child Protective Agencies. Wait, this is just a beam of a copying baby versus... King frees the Collector and stops the Bellows body count from going any higher and one-shots him like he wasn't the main goddamn villain just a second ago. The Collector also stops the draining spell killing all the witches, but instead starts terraforming the land and causing chaos in a different way to play the Owl House game. And the kids, as they should, get the fuck out of it. Luz tries to sacrifice herself because it wouldn't be Luz without her needlessly making her life more shit. But King Metal screams them into the human realm with the portal breaking and the demon realm being inaccessible for our heroes. Which then leads to the episode ending with one simple line.
Hey, Mom. I'm back.
I can't do this anymore. Therapy's not enough. Therapy's really not enough.
This entire ending was just absolutely great. It was a culmination of the entire build-up done throughout the season, and most major characters got their time to shine in the center stage. The stakes were high, you were constantly shedding your pants through every moment, and at every instance you wonder, can it get any worse? And just the start of that being yes were very high. But it was also very exciting because when they overcame those obstacles, you were celebrating for them. I think that the Collector is an incredible final hurdle. He isn't necessarily a villain, more so a force of nature that can't be reasoned with, or at least he can't be reasoned with for now. This entire season was just great overall. It built upon many of the best elements of season 1 and simply expands upon all of them. It takes a darker tone and touches upon many mature themes while still managing to be lighthearted and fun at the same time. The characters are incredibly well written and endearing all throughout, and the developments from the beginning of the series to the end makes you feel like you're watching 2 entire different casts of characters. It's great! Lumity, my god, Lumity was one of the highlights of the season, bar none! I already loved their dynamic in season 1 and it just got better. They are the most adorable things that could possibly happen, and they're also just an incredibly healthy relationship, which, believe it or not, is not very common in cartoons like these. The characters are just so mature when handling shit, which it's, you know, a very nice change of pace compared to other cartoons or shows in general. The writing is so good in so many different occasions. It's just, it hurts seeing that we won't get more of this because Disney was a piece of shit company that just couldn't handle a different audience. These 2 episodes are absolute S tiers.
And that's the Owl House. Can I leave now? Hello?
But what about season 3?
Well, we're finally on the final part of the series. It's been a good journey, but I think it's about time to wrap it up. Season 3 is such a complicated topic because of the short runtime that it has. It's a compilation of 3 episodes which are all around 40 minutes long, and at the time of writing this script, the final episode still hasn't released yet. Or leaked. So I can't tell you how the ending of the series is, but I can certainly say that everything that happened up until now has been pretty incredible so far. My expectations for season 3 are not the world and all the stars around it. I just want the ending to land and be a good enough ending for the show. With all the preamble out of the way, it's time to end this incredibly long journey and never do this again. My god. Okay, so back to where we left off. Luz and the gang managed to make their way back to the human realm after a couple of technical difficulties, yeah, we'll call them that, and she manages to meet her mom once again. Something that was supposed to be a triumphant and cheerful moment instead ends up feeling like a miserable defeat. After they catch her mom up to speed on the events of the entire season, they decide that the best decision for now is to simply take things slow and to figure out a way to create a new portal to the demon realm. And from there, I become the angriest motherfucker on the Milky Way. They show a montage of many of the antics that the group gets to during the time in their human realm, including Luz revealing to her mom that she was bi, which I thought was a really cute moment, and a beautiful middle finger to Disney. Stupid I mean, who said that, huh? This is truly when you feel the anger of the series being cancelled. This is truly when I feel the series got done dirty by Disney, because this montage is something that would have been so good to see. Just standard binters from the gang just fucking around and doing whatever, getting to experience so many things from the human world and seeing how it differs from the rest. Just hurts seeing this because this had so much potential for a season 3 distinctive. The montage also has this really nice moment in which the characters just start playing in the rain, which is a really nice callback to one of the throwaway lines from the first season in which Luz mentioned how much she liked playing in the rain. The characters are all just enjoying their time, and then you see Amity and Luz slow dancing, enjoying the moment. But something about this scene never fails to make me sad. Maybe the music, maybe the expression on Luz's face. I mean, this girl has already been through a lot, and I just feel bad for these characters in so many ways, man. Alright, so the montage ends and Luz goes back to school. Meanwhile, the Hexite squad keeps trying to find ways to go back to the Boiling Isles and actually manage to find a clue thanks to this map that Flapjack found, and then decide to just surprise Luz with it? I mean, yeah, I get it, they're trying to do a nice gesture to the girl, but I feel like it would have been a good idea to tell her right now, because she's not doing very well if the school scene is anything to go by. She is actively blaming herself for the possible death and destruction of the Isles, and I don't know, I feel like she may stop being at least 15% as depressed as this girl already is, if she knew of a possible location, or a possible solution, or anything that may lead them back to the Isles. I feel like I started watching Steven Universe, my god. Anyways, the squad goes on an adventure to find out more information on the map, which is when they go to the museum that B got captured in a season ago. They get a couple clues, B has a crush, and the gang moves on. This could have been such a nice story, but they just had to cancel the show. Here's the plan. The plan is to go to the festival that'll happen in Halloween and find the Titan blood then, and they'll go dressed up and everything. That's adorable. The festival itself is pretty nice and all, but I find the little story time extremely funny because it implies that Bellows was mad that his brother got bitches before him and killed him out of pure spite more than anything. Halfway through the festival though, Hunter feels like Bellows may be after the Titan blood as well, because yes, Bellows went to the human realm as well, and he decides to ask Luz for help getting it. But when they get to the place, Luz realizes that Bellows was actually inside Hunter all along. This is when he reveals the truth about Hunter and Luz. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, huh? Hunter is a Grimwalker, but nobody but Luz knows that, and Luz helped Bellows get to the Collector, but nobody but Hunter knows that, and they believe that the rest of the group will hate them if they figure those things out. After this, a fight between Bellows and the Hex Squad breaks out, and the animation is so beautiful and fluid. My god, the budget just kicked up out of nowhere here. Bellows tries to suck Flapjack up, but before he can do that, Hunter decides to throw the blood away and try to drown himself as well.
I feel like one of those steps may have been unnecessary.
Camilla saves the poor guy, and then Flapjack sacrifices himself to avoid the kids from having just a bit more trauma than they already have. That's when Bellows gets the blood and goes back to the Boiling Isles, and the Protags follow behind him, although Luz is a bit hesitant to do so because earlier in the episode she had made the decision to tell her friends that she was staying in the human realm, never to set foot in the demon realm again, but obviously Camilla isn't letting her do that shit. From there, they go through the portal, and the episode ends.
Well, I'll be damned, for once I didn't get emotionally damaged. maybe this is a good sign.
In case it wasn't clear enough, I thought the episode was pretty good overall. Even with all the difficulties that the team went through, the fact that they even managed to tell a coherent story that flowed naturally and didn't feel super rushed is a genuine miracle. I've said it many times throughout the review, but I'll say it again. I love these characters. I could probably watch an entire episode of them just doing whatever the fuck and they'll be entertaining regardless. I absolutely love Camila. She's just the absolute best mom, becomes a mom of 6 like it's nothing, beating the abusive allegations. She's just a supportive character, and it's unbelievable she was hated by any portion of the family to begin with. The episode was an absolute S tier, but we still have one more episode before being completely caught up with the Owl House, and that episode is For the Future. The gang make their way to the Demon Realm, which well, call me crazy a bit, it looks a bit different from last time, no? As it turns out, the collector not only wanted to play a game, but he also just set up an entire texture pack up in this thing. And he's also turning up a bunch of people into dolls, which ain't good. As the gang make their way through the barren town, they see that the collector has just been playing around for the last couple of months, quite literally, and I mean like the Toy Story kind of playing, where he's playing with the dolls and making up stories, and it doesn't seem that bad, but then you realize that it's people that were turned into dolls and are doing everything against their will. One of the few people that weren't turned into dolls was King, as he became the collector's best of friends, and is mostly playing with him as well. The gang gets intercepted by the survivors of the Day of Unity as they are taken to the school in which many of the other survivors are residing. There's a whole thing now with Basha. She's basically the ruler of the school. How desperate are the times to which the most competent person in here is a fucking child and she ain't even competent in the slightest measure? Matt Tholomew reveals that his last name is literally Tholomew. I don't know how to spell his name, so I just kind of gave up in this part of the script. The school kids are playing an uprising because Basha sucks as a leader and her bodyguards aren't any better either. But just as they were planning this, the bodyguards come in and it turns out to be Kiki Mora. How many more times do you need to get your ass beat, dammit? Capture the squad, a fight breaks out and the team is divided between Gus, Willow and Hunter, Lucy and her mom, and Amity and Bartholomew. What a goated lineup! Willow throughout the entire episode was struggling to keep her emotions in check, as she always felt like she needed to be the one to help people with their problems. But once she reaches a breaking point, it's Hunter and Gus that go to help her in what I think is a really nice scene and character moment. Also, Huntlow is canon now, I suppose? Amity and Bartholomew are dealing with Basha, who, and in my horrible simplifications, wants her queen back and is getting really touchy about it. A bit too touchy if you ask me. But Bartholomew and Amity manage to escape her and I almost forgot about it, but there's a really nice moment in the scene in which Amity confronts Basha and tells her the truth. She can't be the ideal that Basha abused her ass, being a very nice moment for Amity's character overall, showing how much she has grown. And finally we have Luz and Camila, who are dealing with the Red Goblin, which is when Camila and Luz have a talk about Luz's decision, as throughout the entire episode Camila has been trying to stop Luz from following through with this decision. This is when Camila opens up about her past, how she was just like Luz, bullied and all. She didn't want the same to happen to Luz and whatnot. I can't properly describe the scene because I really suck at describing things properly, but it is a really nice speech showing that Camila understands Luz and doesn't want her to do something that'll hurt her, which is when Luz finally realizes her deepest desire.
The only thing I've ever really wanted was to be understood.
Fucking beautiful! All the characters get together and Luz gets the teleportation spell that Philip used all that time back, and they manage to make their way to just below the castle. Meanwhile, and I can't believe that I completely forgot to mention this up until now, King is also plotting for a way to take down the Collector alongside Ida and Lilith, who by the way are completely fine, but not in a way that'll hurt him. He may be a god, he may be very dangerous, but he's also just a kid, and this scene is also just such a good moment that shows King's maturity and progression throughout the show. However, not everything is fine. Bellows is still around, hallucinating now. That's a new side effect of being an asshole. He possesses Rain and convinces the Collector of taking action against the squads, and after seeing even King plotting against him, the Collector decides that it's time for a new game, and that'll be another story for another time, as the episode ended. S tier. Wow! I'm at the end of the series now. The final episode of the season hasn't released yet, but I'm basically at the end of my journey with the Owl House, and it feels so odd. The first time that I finished the series, I felt what I can only describe as that one clip from Hunter x Hunter, and the second time that I caught up to it, I kind of felt the same way, but there was more so gratitude towards the series than before. If it sounds cheesy, it'll be cheesy, but at this point I don't care. It's already like an hour plus long video. I think it's too late to be caring about being cheesy and whatnot. I felt like the series throughout this entire time kind of inspired me in a weird way. Inspired me to try harder on the things that I wanted to do, on the content that I want to make, on the goals that I want to achieve. The series was absolutely magnificent. Even when I wasn't the biggest enjoyer of season 1, it still had many good moments, and the second season was I mean, it was nearly perfect. All that the Owl House needs now is a good conclusion to the adventure. Not a perfect one, but simply one that can wrap up most of the plot points and provide a worthy conclusion to the series. Well, that's all you hear from me. See you when the Owl House finale finally drops. I'll probably make a video on it, and I'm just a stranger that you met on the internet. But hey, just call me Pseudo.